Stars, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Arwynne O'Neill, who is an astrologer, artist and creative here in Vancouver. We're going to explore some of her artwork and how she expresses her astrology through art. We did have some technical challenges with this video, and I apologise for that at the beginning. There is a split halfway through, and also we had the window cleaners outside the window ratcheting, banging and who knows what throughout the whole video. So I have tried to edit out as much of the banging and crashing as I can, but if there are certain sounds, I do apologise for that ahead of time. We do have a giveaway and the details are at the end of the video. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. Let me introduce you to my good friend, Arwynne O'Neill, who is an astrologer here in Vancouver. Arwynne, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Alison. It's good to be here.
And I know you are an astrologer, and I know you're an artist and a blogger as well. Do you have other strings on your bow at this stage?
Oh gosh, so many.
So many.
Here's my day job, of course.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, no. And so let's talk a little bit about how we met, which is kind of interesting. So we had a meet-up at a little coffee shop, an astrology meet-up at a coffee shop down here in Vancouver, and Arwynne arrived, and then when we were leaving, we walked out together, and we walked down the street together. And I said to her, "Oh, you're going this way?" "Yes, she's going that way." Then we got to the building, said, "Are you going in here?" She said, "Yes, I live here." And I live here too, and I'd lived here, 3 years, and I'd never once met Arwynne, so I didn't even know that she lived in the building, and that was kind of fun, wasn't it?
It's incredibly fun, and the best part is there's only about 12 apartments in this building. So the odds are very much against it.
And what are the odds of actually even meeting an astrologer in the city to start with, in the same building? So it was incredible, wasn't it?
It was
so that was the start of our ongoing friendship. And then we moved on to podcasting. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how the podcast evolved?
Sure. I think it started with, not to disparage any, because this is 5 years ago as well. I couldn't find very many astrology podcasts that I found very interesting. There were a handful. They were sporadic, and some were great, but not a lot. And I like to listen to podcasts sort of all day, every day, or audiobooks, and there just weren't enough. And I believe you may have said, "Well, why don't you do your own?" And I think I might have said something along the lines of, "Why don't you do it with me?" And there we are.
And we began, right?
Yeah. My partner is a sound engineer, and he was able to provide us some intro and outro music and edit out all of our ums and ahs.
That's right. He actually played the guitar. Yes.
Exactly. And so we did that for a while.
We did it. It must be 2 years or something?
About 2 years.
And I understand that it's still available, and I'm going to put the link below. It's Access Astrology Podcast.
Axis, like the axis of AXIS, like the axis of the Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The Access Astrology Podcast, still going strong, and we spoke, I can't remember, was it fortnightly, or I don't remember.
Yeah, it was fortnightly. So full disclosure here, we have some window washers outside.
Yes, making a racket.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of ratcheting noises. So if you hear anything like that, the building's not falling apart. They're just routine maintenance and cleaning of the windows outside. Anyways, we had this great podcast for a couple of years. It's still available on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. You can search.
I will put a link below if anyone's interested to go back and listen to Arwynne and my podcast that we did.
Yeah, just maybe fast forward the first 5 or 10 minutes, because that's us talking about the astrology of the day, which is of course now 2 years gone.
Yeah,
but we do cover a lot of great topics.
We absolutely did.
All the signs, all the planets, different aspects that are what they mean, and talk about celebrities and
fashion,
history, fashion, absolutely.
Actually, stuff.
I spun an entire episode, the fashion episode, into a talk at the Fraser Valley.
That's right. You did.
That was a lot of fun.
Because no content is ever wasted.
Exactly.
So that went on for a long time, the podcast. So that was great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it just died its death, and we moved on. Right? I don't know what happened there, but anyway.
We took a pause.
You're quite right. So Arwynne, when were you first interested in astrology?
Well, I grew up with it, actually. My mother and my grandmother, who I grew up with, basically it was the background conversation, like like in a normal household, that would be like, you know, the tooth fairy or Santa Claus or you know, it was just something that we always talked about. If I met new friends at school, it would be like, oh, what sign are they? And I would, you know, find out what their planets
were.
So
it's been with you from the beginning, basically.
From the beginning.
Super interesting,
Yeah.
super interesting.
I got really interested probably around 2000.
Oh, yes.
And then started doing a lot of research about historical cycles and things like that. Not as much personal. Of course, you know, personal of everyone who I know, their chart is in my computer. But yeah, I started to get really interested in politics and fashion and, you know, just the cycles of the macro cycles, really.
Okay, super. The outer planet cycles, is that? Yeah. That's super interesting. And you still have found that interesting today? Are you still?
Just for myself, mostly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was a great inspiration for art for a while as well. And then I sort of started branching out into my, you know, most recent sort of obsession for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually are an artist as well. So when did your art? When did you start with art?
Oh, same.
Oh, same
when I was a
time.
little tiny child. Yeah, that was my
Okay.
grandmother's influence.
Right.
She was an artist.
And then at some point you combined, I think, astrology and art. Am I correct? What was that like?
As a Virgo, I need to have sort of something to guide me. I'm not just like a purely creative, like, you know, fire sign energy, like, you know, fountain of creativity. But if I have a theme or something to sort of, you know, guide my creativity, that's preferable. And so, you know, 12 signs, 12 months. It was great, you know, fuel for doing calendar. And yeah, that's basically.
Okay, so you started doing your calendars a few years ago. Could you show us a couple of types, some of the things that we have here?
So the last year that I did an astrology calendar was 2016.
Right.
And so I've got this one open to Leo, coincidentally.
Oh, thank you.
For Alison.
Oh, look, it's me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got some words. This is sort of an old format that I did back when I was using an online calendar creation tool that you could order your own. You could order mugs and T-shirts and calendars and all kinds of things. And I liked that well enough, but then I decided that, you know, maybe it would be better to go with a local company and not, you know, some you know, shadowy organization out there in the cloud.
Right.
So after 2016, my new theme was badass goddesses, and I hope we don't get censored for that. But basically, it's just you know, these wonderful all of the religions of the world have well, all of the polytheistic religions, I should say.
Right.
They have this wonderful source of characters and personas that are really ripe.
And they're all female, is that right?
Absolutely. Okay. So far, anyway, because otherwise I'd have to change the name from Badass Goddesses to something else.
That's a point there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after 2016, did you move away from astrology calendars more into the goddess calendars?
It did.
Do you have an example of what you could show us there?
So this is one. And goddess is sort of it's a catch-all thing, because some of the goddesses are demonesses or different kind of celestial beings or supernatural creatures that exist that have a sort of a female form. So like the sirens of Greek mythology, for example, would be a good one. They're not goddesses per se, but they are.
So who do we have here?
This is Yuki Onna. She is Japanese, and she is a snow vampire.
Wow.
Who feeds on the blood of living children. It's terrible. She's but in some tellings of it, she is an aggrieved mother who lost her child, and so she's seeking, you know, vengeance, and she's a grief-stricken mother. And in others, she's just like a badass, like, vampire.
Fantastic. So this would be, each month has its own image. Is that how the calendar works?
Absolutely. And then I do a little paragraph that sort of tells the story. And I always make sure. Don't know if you can see this very well.
I can take full.
Yeah. But this is a sort of an atlas, and it shows where all of the goddesses from this year came from. And I make sure that they're sort of scattered throughout the world in each year, just because, you know, we could fill up a calendar with the Greek myths every year if we wanted.
So you are spreading out to South America, the Polynesia, I see, Japan.
And there's just such a rich, wonderful history of mythology and throughout the world. Like, I've so far done 4 years of goddesses.
This is amazing. So you've got a collection of at least 48 goddess images, all original art?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. all over the world.
This is super interesting. And then these are available for order each year. You have a different one.
Yeah.
And we'll give you the details on how you can order your own copy later.
For me, the fun of it is just really, it's almost like, I love research and I love history and culture and finding out about all these different stories that exist, and then, you know, finding the perfect tableau to sort of present these myths.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you brought a couple of others here. Do you want to just share those? This is very interesting art. This is what I like to call it astro art, because if it's art and astrology and I can hook the two together,
For sure.
it's astro art.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing the work you do.
And this is a great example of, this is one of my favorites.
Yes.
This is, I'm going to maybe butcher the pronunciation. Anyone who
We'll get the spelling, yeah?
Anyone who is of Mayan descent who wants to correct us in the comments, please feel free. There's not a lot of pronunciation guides for some of these, unfortunately.
Okay, super interesting.
Online, but Ixtab, I-X-T-A-B,
no idea.
Mayan goddess of, she is she's a suicide goddess, but she's also a lunar goddess.
Okay.
And she is the protector and the transporter of the souls of the suicidal dead to the afterlife. And she sort of shepherds them to the afterlife and protects them because they're delicate souls that.
Wow, that's quite a deep story, isn't it? So
Yeah.
do you actually choose the month that the image goes to? Is this, I assume, Scorpio month or something like that?
August, because it was my favorite.
It was, right?
That's a little secret. Yeah, my favorite is usually the August one because I'm an August birthday. So I usually put my favorite in there.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So this is Mayan, you say? This is super
Yeah.
interesting. I've never heard of you've heard of Venus and people like that,
Right.
but apart from that, it's, this is super interesting. And every year do you do fresh research to find
Oh, absolutely.
the mythology behind the images that you're doing?
I do. I'm going to do a shout out for godchecker.com.
God checker.
It's a bit of an irreverent website. A lot of the entries that they have are just one sentence apologizing for not doing more research. But sometimes there's a rich story, and always I will, further research the whatever goddess I think is interesting that I've found in there. But the great thing about that site is that it's searchable by culture, by gender, by keyword, and so if you wanted to, they're just parked right outside the window.
I know.
That's amazing.
We'll put them in the video now.
Really turn the camera around. I use God Checker.
God checker, not goddess checker.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
God checker.
it's kind of like man, how it's like for all mankind. It's sort
No,
of
I get it. It's
quasi unisex wink. So God Checker is great because I can search by topic and by location. So for example, if I wanted to search for warrior goddesses,
yes.
I could put war into the search box and then narrow it down by region. If I wanted to find a South American war goddess.
So every year you spread it around the world to give an overview of, and how interesting, and that is very interesting.
I mean, it just makes it fun, and we all know about some of the
the main.
as you said, Venus. We know about that. We know about So as a Virgo, I like miniature things. I believe that you once said that Virgos are the ones who like little sets of things and little just small versions of things, and that is 100% true. That is absolutely a Virgo thing.
Super
So
interesting.
last year, 2019, so in addition to the sort of 8.5 by 11, just regular, 9 by 12 at the most with the ring binding, I decided to sort of have a little pocket-sized calendar made, just a few of them. And I might do it again. If anyone specifically wants to order that, they can put it in the comments. But I just love this. And I didn't...
So this is the same as the big one for the same year. This is the 2019 one.
Exactly. I didn't do it in 2020. Just I didn't get the sense that anyone else.
This is kind of interesting. I don't know. It's nice. It looks like these are beautiful. The art, I want to say, the art has been reproduced in full. The color is luxurious. That's the word I want to use on the color on these images. And Arwynne, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your art process. Sure. How do you? And is this digital, or where do you start?
Well, I actually start with little black and white pencil drawings, which I then ink in with black, just fine-tipped ink.
Okay.
And my models have been in the past almost exclusively from Dr. Sketchy's Vancouver, which is Dr. Sketchy's is this wonderful thing that actually exists in many cities across the world, where they have burlesque models from wherever whichever city it is, and they'll model for 3 hours in a pub environment, or sometimes in a theater environment, but usually somewhere where there are drinks you can order, and you can just sit around for 3 hours in a social environment drawing these beautiful burlesque dancers who will then.
So you're drawing from real women.
Oh, absolutely.
This is amazing. Yeah. So you start off with your sketch that you do
Yeah.
at the place.
Yes, and there's not a lot of time. It's 15 minutes is the longest pose they have. But I finish them at home.
Yeah.
Actually, COVID, of course, has messed up a lot of things.
Yes.
Dr. Sketchy's is one of them, sadly. And I can't wait for everything to go back to whatever normal we have. But I am very much looking forward to being able to draw from a real life model again, because this year they have one online class, and so I have no source material. Fortunately, I do have a really good friend who has a flair for the dramatic. She's a Sagittarian, and so I have some wonderful photos of her, and I've worked from those. I've worked from some of my own photos.
So you're drawing there with a pencil, is that right, in a notebook, and then you ink it over with a pen, and then what do you do?
I scan it in, and
scan it into
Photoshop,
shout out to Photoshop. Oh my, you use Photoshop.
I do, and then digital painting.
So we have a couple here.
Yeah.
Is this like a beginning sketch?
Yeah.
I can show it more on the screen.
Absolutely.
As well.
That is my gorgeous friend Helen. Just shout out to Helen.
That too.
There we are.
So this is from the sketch from the notepad, for instance.
Exactly.
So we go from the sketchbook, I beg your pardon, the sketchbook, and then you put it into digital. Oh, I see.
And I up the contrast so that it's just strictly a black and white line drawing with no sort of sketchy lines, and then use that in Photoshop to sort of create the outline, and then just paint as though I were using oil paints, which I have never had the space or the inclination to get into.
So can I show? We have a couple of other. This is another sketch here of one of your. So are these the 2021 images?
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the. That became the sketch for Angrboda, who is a Norse goddess, and she's like the mother of wolves, sort of like the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
she's
really?
the mother of wolves in the final Photoshop version, which
we'll show that in a moment when we get to the colour.
She's got wolves, and she's got a cave, and all kinds of stuff.
Fantastic. So when you actually are, here's my question, when you're drawing your model, you go along down at the art place, you draw the model, you come home, you're not quite sure of the myth yet. Does the myth, how do you choose the myth to go with the image, or does it just come to you?
It just comes to me.
Okay, so you decide that.
Sometimes it starts with maybe a setting that I'm thinking about, because if it's somewhere in the world, like if it's an Egyptian myth, for example, I'm going to probably want to find some sort of Egyptian ruin, or beautiful desert setting, or pyramids to put in the background. Okay. I don't draw the pyramids. There's amazing photography in the public domain that I use just for the backgrounds, because I don't paint pyramids.
You're focusing on the badass goddesses.
Exactly.
And this is another example. So who is this one?
That's going to be Inanna. She's the Mesopotamian goddess, one of the most ancient, actually, of all the goddesses. She tricked her sister, who was the ruler of the underworld, Ereshkigal, and Inanna was not in the underworld. You're not allowed to go unless you die, as the rule goes.
Okay.
So she wanted to go down into the underworld, and her sister, put all these sort of rules and stipulations in place, and one of them was that she had to shed a garment at each of the gates to the underworld.
Wow.
So this is why she's
just got her boots on at this stage.
These boots are made for walking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got it now in Photoshop, you've got it inked in, and then here we have an example. This is another one. Again from the 2021 calendar?
Yes.
Okay, so here you've got it coloured in,
and the pyramids in the background are the only, that's Serket, by the way. She's the goddess of poisons, venoms, and healing thereof. So I'm imagining back in ancient Egypt, being stung by scorpions and other venomous creatures was
big deal.
A big deal.
The end of the world. So I see you've got, for instance, in this one, she's carrying the Venus symbol, and yet I see her shadow is a scorpion.
Yes. So she's not only the goddess of venomous creatures, but also she's the cure and the sickness in a way. So she's able to wield that power for healing or for
So what was her name again?
Serket.
Serket.
S-E-R-K-E-T.
Oh, amazing.
With the Ankh of the eternal
yeah,
life.
the Ankh, yeah. It means life, I understand it. Okay. And then we do have another one. This is the one you were talking about with the wolves?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you flesh it out. Once you've got your model, you then are fleshing it out and adding in.
And so in this case,
to the myth.
Exactly. In this case, this one sort of this one called to me the drawing I had, just because I had this photo of my friend who was looking fabulous, and so the drawing existed, and then I thought, that would be ideal for peeking out of the cave with her little coven of pack of wolves, I guess you'd say, of the pack. And that's how the positions get sort of paired up with the goddess.
Super interesting. And again, this will be in the 2021 calendar.
Yeah.
And then there's this last one that you have here, which is kind of interesting as well.
That is one of the Amazons. Not goddesses exactly, but definitely worthy of
not Amazon.
Worthy of mention.
No.
Ancient warrior women of Greece, and
and she's on a horse with a.
Yeah.
Okay. Several horses there as well.
Yeah. Which I did not draw, but
No. You've created artworks.
Yes. Absolutely.
Is this the only type of art you do? Are you like working on one of these every month, or do you have other types of art that you work on at the same time? Because I know you have done a tarot deck as well at one stage.
Oh, so long ago, yeah.
Long ago, but still.
It's mostly a collage deck. I mean, there was very little drawing involved in that. It was mostly photographs and
But
art
then
in the
would you
public
say
domain.
this is your main art, the badass goddesses?
Yeah.
So are these images available in calendars and in other forms, or just the calendars at the
Just
moment?
the calendars at the moment, but really, if anybody is interested in something specific, you can always contact me, because the printer is literally down the street, and I'm more than happy to
Okay, and we're going to put Arwynne's email address. You can contact her directly for that.
Yeah.
One lucky viewer will receive the 2021 Badass Goddess calendar when it comes out, and I'll give you more details about that at the end. So as we are an astrology channel, could you tell me a little bit more about your chart, something you want to share with our audience?
Well, I think I already mentioned being Virgo.
Being a Virgo, Sun Virgo, so Sun Virgo.
Sun and Moon in Virgo, and New Moon.
New Moon.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so my Sun and Moon are 8 degrees apart-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. And New Moon, lovely.
With Scorpio rising, which is an interesting combination.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they're both introverted signs, and let me tell you. It's funny.
We're so glad she came out. Yes.
It's just upstairs. So with Scorpio rising, Leo's on the midheaven. So on the cusp of the 10th house, I do have.
So it's a bit of a conflict, really. Well, I look at me, but don't look at me.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And if you do look at me, I want to be perfect first. And,
okay.
Torture. It's a lot of pressure. So. Yeah.
This is great. So you are producing creative stuff now out into the world with these.
Yeah. I mean, as I like to say, this humility will be totally unappealing to you as a Leo, but
okay.
I like to say, it's just for friends and family, whatever. But obviously, I am compelled to create something and put it out into the world. So
it is creative outlet. It absolutely is. Yeah.
And I love to do it in my spare time. It's we live in a rainy place, and
yes.
although I do now have outdoor hobbies, which are wonderful 6 months out of the year, we have the dark 6 months where
because we live in Canada, winters are tough.
Well, yeah, and it rains a lot on the West Coast.
It rains a lot on the West Coast.
It's beautiful today, but
and for those of you who don't know, they also call Vancouver Raincouver because it rains so much here.
It's like Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle.
Fantastic.
But, so you need something to do indoors, is what
exactly. No, I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Arwynne, do you have anything else in the pipeline for your astrology art for the next year?
Well, there's the 2021 calendar, which is in progress.
I can't wait, and these are the fabulous images that are going to be in it.
Yes, it's how many do I have? I have 10 out of 12 completed.
Fantastic.
So
and we are in October, so you've definitely got time to get this out. So these are hot off the press artworks, let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
So this is great, yeah.
I mean, as I said, I do have a day job, so this is just something that I do for me and anyone who appreciates it.
Yes, no, it's wonderful. I like the idea that I like the combination of astro art, because as an astrologer, you're not just doing charts all day. There has to be, from my mind, there has to be a creative outlet, whatever it is. And it's like I do my bits of art and what have you, October, which I've been hammering away at, more on that later. But this I find is interesting, that you're able to take the mythology and almost the new aginess of art and develop these images, which are very, very uniquely your own style. I have to say, it's really great. I remember getting this calendar from you.
It wasn't wrapped nicely, but I didn't have time.
Yes, you've got to have it well wrapped,
Really.
So, and there was the whole thing was here, and it was really super interesting that you took art and developed it in this way. And at the time, I mean, it was amazing. And I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I do find that art and stories, any kind of stories, really, personal stories or examples that we have, they, in some ways, they convey astrological truths as well as mythological truths, back in the day.
That's super interesting.
So much more sort of personally to people.
So would you say that you take the mythology story of the art you've done and correlate it to the month of the sign that it will go in the calendar, or not really?
Quite often. I wouldn't say all the time.
Okay.
But for example, the snow vampire, well, obviously she's January. Sometimes they do have a correlation, I believe.
Sometimes it's perhaps more obvious than at other times.
For sure. Oh, here's a great example. Marzana. Marzana is a Baltic nature goddess. She's associated with the rebirth of spring, and so there's actually this celebration.
Isn't it in the name?
Right, and well, the whole village will turn out and they'll burn effigies of her and then throw them into the river.
Oh,
right. Which is why she's on fire in the picture. Wow. It makes a striking image, but there's a.
And you put that in for March, which is that the correlation with the Aries?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's the beginning of the spring thaw, and they have a great feast, and the entire village would turn out to sort of cast these burning effigies into the river, and then they would have this massive feast and celebrate the end of winter and the beginning of spring. And of course, I mean, it's Baltic Slavic, so it's cold, icy places where the beginning of spring would have always been very welcome and cause for celebration, and for the whole village to sort of get together and feast.
And you must know so much about goddesses by this stage.
I know a little bit about many of them.
Yeah. Okay, no, fair enough. Yeah. Excellent.
Just about a paragraph.
Okay, so if our audience wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in contact with you, Arwynne?
Arwynne@shaw.ca.
Okay, so that's her email. I will put a link below as well, straight in there.
Yeah.
Is there something else you'd like to say about goddesses in general?
I'm not a particularly spiritual or religious person, and I mean the number of followers that say the Mayan, spiritual practice or Mesopotamian, goddesses have in modern day is minuscule.
Right.
At best, probably. But it's history. It's a cultural history, and it's this amazingly rich tapestry of storytelling that we have from eons of human history. And the fact that women have played these amazing roles in all of these religions across the world since, I mean, like thousands and thousands of years of wonderful human, so we have the Marvel, the Marvel ICU, and we have, the DC universe. But 2,000 years ago, we had Tiamat, the goddess of the Babylonian seas, and she was a sea serpent who had 13 children to battle against her previous generation of children, and like she's like a superhero, like a crazy supervillain, monstrous sort of goddess, and every religion, barring a handful, has them, which I think is a very important thing for us to remember and to celebrate in some small way. And
so in a way you are celebrating women. Let's
really?
Face it. Go girls.
Girl power.
Go
badass
power.
goddesses.
Go badass goddesses. There you are.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Arwynne, thank you so much for coming to show us your fabulous badass goddess art. It really is spectacular. These are really fabulous images, and you would do yourself a favor, or all your friends definitely need one of these calendars for next year. Arwynne, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
A great thank you to Arwynne for joining me today. So the details of the giveaway is that one lucky person is going to win a 2021 calendar created by Arwynne, including all of her 12 artworks, and some of which we have seen in this video, and they will be in the calendar. All you have to do to enter is make a comment below this video before December the 15th, which is the cutoff date. That's December the 15th, 2020. That is our final cutoff date, and one lucky person will be drawn after that. And if you're watching this video in 2021 and have missed the cutoff date, do not worry, you can still pick up some of Arwynne's fabulous artworks. In the links below, you can order your own calendars and other merchandise. I'm Alison Price. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.